hope it's charged.
Are you plugging microphone to your own phone? Maybe this one need microphone. My live.
How far?
Ready for
Calm
text.
down. Alright, just give me a thumbs up on your
Live.
Hello world, hello Africa, hello Nigeria. It's great to be here. And we have a very beautiful topic to talk about this week. You're welcome back. Last week we talked about last week we talked about the employee no one forgets. The employee no one forgets. We had two sessions. The first episode, the upper week, and the second edition this previous week. So today we're talking about the cost of toxic culture. I'm going to be an intro, just an intro this week. And in subsequent session, or at least next week, we're going to dive deeper into it. But before we go on, wherever you're watching us from, in the comments, just type your name and where you're joining in from. All right, this is Mind Your Character. Just join in and let us know where you're watching from. All right, so what is workplace culture? Just like Ms. Obasa will always put it, she says, culture is to an organization what character is to an individual. So the same way you've got attributes, you've got a way you act, you've got a way you live your life, your personality, your habits, and everything in between. The same way it applies to an organization, your team, your ministry, your business, your workplace, technically. So the way you do things in your life, which is your character, is the same way the way you do things in your business is your culture. Now, there are certain places you work or you happen to interact, you find out that the manner of things or the way things are being done is not healthy. And off the top of my head, one of the most common signs of a toxic workplace or toxic culture in a workplace is a place where people are not respected. People are not respected. People are not valued. People are not honored. For example, you work in a place where, let's even use RCB. RCB here, we have a very healthy culture. Of course, right? One of the things Mr. Obasa will always say is birthdays are an integral part of the business. If you are an employee and you work in RCB, even if you're an intern, you work in RCB at any level, one of the ways you can step on a culture and you can attract sanctions such as queries or whatever is to mess up anything with a client or with a team member. Because here at RCB, one of our culture, I'm already getting into the meat of the matter. One of our culture here is that we believe that our team members are our first clients. Yeah, that's not a common culture, but it's one of our strongest culture here at RCB. Our team members they are our first client. So we believe that we put our team members first, and they in turn put our clients first. You get that? So if you are, say, a graphic designer or you're in the graphic design team and you forgot, by the way, yeah, that's one of the first things I had to learn when I got to RCB over a year ago. You don't say you forget. It's one of the signs that you're not a professional, right? Well, let's say you forgot a client's birthday or you forgot something that has to do with a team member. You're in trouble, right? You've crossed the line. So that's how serious the team lead or the organization has entrenched that culture to be. So we treat our customers, both internal clients, which are the team members, and the external clients, which are the actual paying clients, right? Anything that has to do with them, we take it very seriously or extra seriously. So yeah, we go far and above. If you've probably seen recently, two of our team members got married. Myself, actually, sometime in April this year, and we have our operations executive sometime in July. Yeah, you needed to see how the team showed up. The team member showed up, right? The team leader self was there. Not to talk of the other things that had to go as support behind the scenes. So what I'm saying is we have a culture of showing up for people, for our clients as well. We turn up for their events, their special events. We go to volunteer. So that's a culture we've built. Now, let's take this to other organizations. Some organizations have a culture of disregarding employees. One of them is delaying salaries. At RCV, it rarely ever happens. And if it happens, it is well managed. And when I say well managed, there's a culture of communication and augmentation. For example, I'm being serious here because that's like how basic it can get, right? You realize that there is this culture where everybody feels valued. If for any reason your salary is delayed, it rarely happens. And if it does happen, the communication is effective and there is definitely augmentation, right? So I may not be able to go into details, but I'm saying that we value people and it has to be like that. Some people work in a place where they are owed salaries for months and there is no effective communication. Nobody knows what's going on. Nobody knows what happened. Nobody knows. You just look around. Hey, you're checking your phone multiple times. You're like, should I talk to the HR? Should I talk to? And in the typical workplace, some people are even already owing, thinking that oh, once I get this, I would sort this, and then there's silence everywhere, right? So that's an example. Communication. That leads me to that. So in RCV here, we have COTG. I'll get into the cost of toxic culture, but let's look at what's even toxic. What does toxic culture even mean? So it simply means practices that are not consistent with healthy behaviors in a workplace. How do you treat people, right? It's Maya Angelou that says that people can forget what you said, what you did, but they rarely ever forget how you made them feel, right? So toxic workplace cultures are fundamentally a leadership problem, right? It is how you do things that other people are going to follow. For example, if during meetings certain things are not permitted, right? And you as a leader, you do it. Others will emulate it, even though your book, your culture document says otherwise. For example, how do you interrupt somebody when you're having a conversation? As basic as that. What what language do you speak with? How do you talk to people? So these are simple things that can breed a lot of resentment, that can bring insubordination and the rest in workplaces. So what are the costs of toxic workplace cultures? We're going to just overview some of them, and I need us to place this very carefully. And interestingly, workplace culture sometimes are unwritten. There's something called unspoken rules. It might not necessarily be spelled out clearly in your document, in your culture document, but if it happens over and over again, it becomes a culture, it becomes a way of. I mean, dates back to elementary school social science or social studies. Culture is what? A people's way of life, isn't it? So how you do things repeatedly. And it can easily get blurred if people notice the pattern of what is rewarded, what is celebrated, what is punished, what is tolerated. It becomes what people consistently model, right? It becomes what is consistently modeled. And that's how you build culture. Whatever it is you have in your culture documents, I mean, you go to some companies, you see on the wall, there's the values, there's the missions. All those things are softwares, right? As far as culture is concerned, because they are not tangible until they're expressed. Even if you framed it in an in an almanac and you put it somewhere, you hang it gigantic in your office. It makes no sense. It's not functional until it's put into action, right? So employees can see when you're not sincere, when you're not genuine, when you're not at par with whatever is in your document. So they can see, they may not tell you directly as a CEO, but they're going to murmur within themselves. And if they're caucus or, sects inside the organization, it's going to turn into rumor. And before you know, there's something else breeding. So how do you promote people in your company? How do you increase salaries? How do you do certain things? It has to be obvious. It has to be spelled out. For example, if we had a retreat or something, we talk about the finances part. Everybody knows what this other person is earning, and there's going to be explanation around certain increases or so. So you can't just bypass something. So it boils down to the basics. So it's not until somebody steals money before we know, oh, culture is being broken. It's not until somebody does something heinous, right? It starts from the small things. So what is the big problem here? The big problem is that there is a discrepancy between alignment and compliance. For example, I like to use this example. I mean, one of my favorite topics to discuss is parenting. I am so in sync with parenting, and that's why it's very fascinating. People do not understand most times that there is a difference between having people obey a rule and them aligned with the values of the organization. So I'm going to take that again. There is a huge difference between having a set of people you have in your organization to obey your set rules compared to when they are aligned with your values, your vision, and your mission. So look at this. You tell somebody, come early to work. That's a rule, right? That's a rule. And if they are coming early to work, they are doing it because you said so. But have you built a culture of not being tardy, a culture of punctuality? How do you build a culture of punctuality? You build it by first rewarding those who are punctual, right? And that's built on having trained them. Why should you be punctual? Are they punctual because you said so? Or they are punctual because they value themselves to honor their commitment to that organization to do their job well? Do you see that? So there's a huge difference between, oh, they asked me to do this, and oh, that's the right thing to do. And the reason this is key is because as a leader, your goal is not to raise people who are compliant. Your goal is to raise people who are aligned rather. People will do things even when you're absent. The organization will run not minus one less than when you're present. I like to make this, permit me to use example. I'm a believer and I like to share this from this perspective. In the scripture, there's a verse of Apostle Paul, right, who wrote majority of the epistles, right? He said that you may know how to behave yourself in my absence. He was writing to his followers. As a leader as well, that has to be your mindset. You've got to understand that you won't always be with people. So your culture is the one that will do the job of reminder, reinforcement when you're not there, right? Your people must know how to handle clients, they know how to handle themselves, they know how to relate with team members in your absence, right? So let's go on. Your team members are going to follow what you say if you set down rules, fine. But do they understand why? Do you understand why? Why do we do this? So as a team member, as a team lead, rather, one of the things you want to do is to consistently orient your team members. Why don't we do this? For example, imagine you notice theft in your company. Say you were reconciling your account statement and you found out that a chunk of amount is missing, right? And the next instinct in your mind is to set up CCTV. Fine, you've done well, but you're not able to get the best results because you now have to manage these people. You now have to put barricades. You have to put in things to ensure that they don't steal. That's not a value run organization. There's no culture there. You have to educate people why it should not be. Because if CCTV is the only option you're considering, you're already wrong. Because it means that anywhere else there is no CCTV, the act will prevail. And if, God forbid, you find a stronger, you find a way to bypass So you're going to only strengthen them and give them innovations to bypass those things. So the point is, don't raise obedient team members. Don't raise compliant team members. Build aligned team members. Is it making sense? If you're learning something in the comments, just type this is valuable. Just type this is valuable. So how and when and even where does culture become toxic? You don't arrive at that juncture overnight. A culture doesn't become toxic overnight. I promise you, it starts bits. Do you ever wonder why it's called habits? It's because it had in bits. It become habits. Why does it become something that has to now be described as culture? Right? Culture is from the word cult. Cult means a strong following. That means a set of beliefs, a set of ideologies. For example, if in your company you believe in excellence and it is reinforced, your team members are going to align themselves with that belief. And because they align themselves to that belief, it affects their behaviors. So you don't understand that. But if all you just come is, oh, we have to be excellent, why should we be excellent? It has to be well stated out. But if that is not in place, it's going to be a lot of trouble because all it takes to build a toxic culture is just a few things. For example, a difficult boss, a boss that just looks at an employee and says, because I am your boss, you are stupid and you are dumb. Get out of my face. Is that how you do it? So insultive language can begin to breed a toxic culture in your workplace. Never praising people. Do you know there are bosses who never do this? They never say thank you. They never say well done because somehow they've heard or they've learned that if you praise someone, it's going to get into their brains and they will start being pompous or whatever. Here at RCV, Ms. Obasa, our team lead, frowns at that because she knows the right thing to do and she always emphasizes it to us, even as team members. Look at this. As a team lead, right? One of the things you want to understand is you must model the things you want to see. All right, I'm going to share a story before I wrap up. Very interesting story. You like it. But let me finish this train of thought. You don't have to refrain from praising a team member who has done something laudable because you are trying to curtail excesses. Let people be people. Praise them and let them see what they do with it. Right? Somebody has done something well. Oh, thank you. You've done well. And of course, you're praising their act, not necessarily them. Right? You're praising that act. So that tomorrow, when you do something wrong, you can boldly call it out and say, you did wrong. Please serve her a query. Your conscience is clear because when you did right, you praise them and their act, right? But you don't have any moral compass to castigate someone you did not praise. It doesn't make sense. You see that? So that's how it be the culture of honor, a culture of respect, a culture of alignment, right? Somebody is rude, maybe an intern to a staff, you correct it. But if you let it slide, it becomes permissible, and whatever is permissible gradually becomes absorbed into being a culture. So you see that? Somebody talks, it doesn't even have to be intern to, it can be colleague to colleague, right? Somebody says something that is likely to incite fight, you correct it. I remember some time ago here at RCV, there used to be two of our interns who, a male and a female. So as team members, we joke around saying, oh, they like themselves. This is Miss Obasa, our team lead will always say, no, don't do that. Because she knows it can get seriouser than that. Before you know, somebody begins to feel intimidated, somebody begins to feel threatened, somebody begins to feel insecure, and that's how toxic culture begins. a place where people are being bantered, people are being picked on. It looks tiny, but that's where the crack begins from. So watch out for these things where there are disagreements, there are shoutings. People must learn to communicate in a controlled manner. You can disagree healthily. You can have conversations without being insultive. You can pass across um, your disagreements, right? Your different opinions. We don't have to always agree. That's how it is. But we have to be intentional about making sure that the conversation, the environment where the conversation is happening is controlled, right? So let's speed up right now. So, what is the main cost of toxic culture? Like I said, in the subsequent editions, we're going to talk more of this. But first is people, right? The person that you refuse to praise when they were right, now they are wrong. You're putting pressure on them. Do you think they'll be happy? No. Their morale begins to get doused. Their energy begins to get beaten down. If they are a team lead, right, the people underneath will begin to feel it. Some will begin to transfer aggression. You see how the culture degenerates? Exactly. That's how it starts. It begins to get degenerated. And performance drops, collaboration becomes difficult. So, for example, you have somebody, Mr. A, let's call this person Mr. B. They work together in the same department or different departments, but somehow they happen to interfere or interact in their job process. And this person has altercation with this person. How can they collaborate effectively? So collaboration is affected, productivity automatically becomes reduced, and communication becomes broken down, right? So person does not want to see so person. They don't want to, they don't want to bond. They don't want to interact because they feel like they are hot, they are not secure, they're not welcome, they're not. So you want to watch out for all of that. Of course, your brand begins to get wrong PR, bad reputation, bad reputation. So maybe when the team member leaves that company, they begin, oh, when I was so company, they did this. Oh, they did this. Oh, they did that. So you don't want that to happen. And of course, money. That's the third one I'll mention today. I will go deeper into the ones subsequently. So money, all right? You're losing. So imagine that employee, you've spent money training them. And because of bad culture, they exit the organization. You've lost money. Or they are customer interfacing team members. They transfer aggression to your clients, to your customers. You see that? So the people you're serving, they bear the brunt of that loop that you've created. So you want to watch out for that so you don't cause yourself operational costs that can be prevented. All right. So again, culture might look like something soft, might look something, it's just behavior. But it can show up in hard currency. It can cost you hard currency. It can cost you money. It can cost you loss of productivity. It can cost you loss of human capital in the organization, which are not cheap costs, right? So I'll wrap up here. Who is responsible for culture? Who is responsible for culture? Just because you have a functional and professional HR does not mean everything that's with culture is in their hands. Culture is built knowingly and unknowingly, consciously and unconsciously. So, as a team lead, you must intentionally curate what you want to see. As a leader, you must intentionally model what you want to see to be replicated. If you don't want it to be replicated, don't model it. If you don't want it to, if you don't want to see it happen again and again, don't start it. Right? As simple as celebrating somebody's birthday in a particular way, and when it comes to this person's time, you don't or you do something bigger. So those things might look little. When you begin to see team members are frowning at, oh, when it was my time, they did this. Oh, when is not. So there has to be a way. How do we do this here? For example, at RCB, we have a way we celebrate our directors, our team members, our stakeholders, our volunteers, even, right? So I remember a particular time was we were going to do a particular video for to celebrate our our volunteers, a very creative video pile up, we just get the and we'll stack it up with the sound and all that. Then I remember the team lead was saying, how we will not do this for others? How do we communicate this now in a way that will make others feel valued as well? And not make them feel like we are valuing these people more. Do you see that? So a leader has to always have their hearts at those little spaces. It might look like a small talk. It might look like, oh, it's not a big deal, but that's where it starts from. So if you want to ensure that you're managing the culture so it doesn't become toxic, you want to check for that point and watch out for those little cracks. If you got questions, you want to start putting them in the comments so we can take them today. As a wrap up again, this is going to be continuing next week as well. We're going to be doing probably one or two more series on this because this is where it all starts from. The culture of organization begins with the intentional or unintentional action of the leader or the stakeholders in that workplace. They could be team members, they could be leaders of the department, anybody that has a role to play in influencing policies or influencing decisions has a role to play. So sometimes people also do things and want to see what will they say about it. What will happen if I do this? Correct it immediately. Oh, we don't do this here. Oh, this is how we do. Especially when you have new team members, you always want to tell them what to do because everybody's coming from a place. Everybody's coming from different. I mean, when I got to RCV, I was doing things a particular way, right? I had to be told, oh, that's nice, that's great, but here at RCV we do it like this, like this, like this. I'm like, oh, nice. I adjusted. It might not be easy based on, I mean, this is a lifestyle, this is a pattern, this is how I do this before I got here, but now you have to adjust. And with time, and of course, how you communicate it, your team members will adjust. Your people they will cooperate. And of course, remember the word alignment. The goal is not compliance, it is alignment. Let's put that in the comments. If you're following, type in the comments. The goal is not compliance, the goal is alignment. The goal is not compliance, the goal is alignment. So people should not be just compliance, right? Because again, culture is not just what you write in your handbook, it's what people experience, it's what people enjoy, it's what they see, it's what they repeat. That's what they consider as normal. And of course, normal is from the word norm, which makes what you've been doing, right? So what people see often is what they also repeat. So if we want better organizations, we cannot just demand better employees, right? We don't just say we want better employees if we want better team, and we need better cultures. So it's better cultures where people are learning actively, who are treated well, they are valued, they are well communicated, they feel valued. I mean, that's the most important thing. How do you make people feel? Right? Are your employees proud of you? Can they see you as my boss? Or is it right? So we know how those things work. So let's be intentional about it. Words travel faster than what you think. Right? People always have a version of you they experience. Let it be the good version. Right? Don't wake up and say, I'm not in my element today. Right? This is how I want to behave today. No, that's how we have culture. Culture strengthens you. Right? Culture molds you. Even when you're not feeling good, for example, your worst days, put it that way, culture makes you adjust and behave well. All right. When you're feeling somehow and you want to reply a client somehow, culture tells you, you are not reactory, you're responsive. You get that? So we need cultures if you must build better employees, better workplaces, better businesses, better organizations. We need cultures. Healthy one at that. It's really a good time having this conversation with you so far on this week's episode. I'm glad, and again, I'm so honored to have this opportunity. Thank you, big thank you to my team lead, Mrs. Bosede Olusola-Obasa, for this opportunity, and I do not take it for granted. I look forward to more opportunities like this in the future where we can have more interactive sessions like this, where we share these things that really help us in our organizations. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining in. If you joined us later than when we started, this is Mind Your Character, where we talk about anything and everything character to help you build a better experience in your personal life and your business regarding how you interact with people, how you serve people, how you work, and how you lead. Thank you so much for joining in. Same time next week, 4:30 p.m. West African time. Live here from Lagos, Nigeria, we host NYC Manu Character. Until then, see you. Enjoy your weekend.